Hello, I'm Sydney Even, and welcome to my presentation on how the enduring generalist adapts to the effects of climate change. Moreover, how does beach geomorphology impact the horseshoe crab spawning density? To start off, the keystone species generalist, Limulus polyhemus, has been present for 445 million years and is most often found in the Delaware Bay area, which is where we studied. It is critical to study this for three reasons. First off, the lack of concise and unbiased data. There are several reasons that it has not been specific. First off, because there has never been a single methodology, and in addition, the small amount of time that they're visible on the beach during the high tide and the receding tide, as well as the full moon, and how spread out they are, and the ability to identify their sex as we acquire the data. In addition, both humans and birds are dependent on them as a resource. The red knot depend on their offspring as they migrate north as food. And then us humans depend on their blood in vaccine sterilization and their offspring in agriculture. And the last part of the puzzle piece, the adapting climate as a result of human intervention and how the thinning of shoreline is going to affect their breeding in the future. In terms of our methodology for the project, we took two parts of it. First off, we acquired the population data by counting and recording male and females along the meter tape, which we identified their sex based on their size and where they were in the cluster of crabs, where they were located. In addition, we studied their spatial distribution. So on the beach in the 1,000-meter length, we used a gravelometer as well as observations to record the size of the sediment, which is pictured below. In terms of results, we found that males are more prominent in areas with a large number of females. In the blue, you can see the males, which spike as females increase from the 400 to 700 meter mark. It is generally the same, although this is May 11th. There are several other surveys that exemplify the same amount of data. More specifically, their sediment size varies throughout the 1,000 meters. Below, you can see the pictures that go along with the graph. The red is the sediment, while the blue is the average crabs plotted against each other. You can see from the 100, 200, and 300 mark, the sediment is like C and pretty stagnant in that way. And so the crabs, it is a viable space for them to breed, but it is not ideal. So there is no real density there. Although you get to D, image D, which is at the 470 meter mark, and you can see a large spike in the density found there, followed by image E, which is a massive plummet because the area is basically unusable with the large pieces of concrete, and there are often dead crabs found in that area. Finally, F is exemplary of the 700 meter mark, and as you get towards the end of the graph, that is an outlier in our data, and I'll explain a little bit in the future, but that is also ideal and raises some questions for where we can go in the future. To conclude, the male horseshoe crabs gravitate towards areas where there are more females, and in addition, there are more horseshoe crabs in places on the beach with a smaller grain size, as shown in both the graphs. As predicted beforehand and confirmed during receding high tide and the full moon on May 26th, which is when we recorded our data, the most horseshoe crabs were counted on the beach. And then lastly, based on our observations, the conclusion was indicated that with a smaller incline, there was a higher amount of horseshoe crabs. Where we can go with this in the future, like I said, there was an outlier as an F. The offshore obstructions could result in a serious alteration in our data. So the offshore could have made the horseshoe crabs more likely to gravitate towards different areas, as you can see in the green and the red. The green, where they can possibly get around the obstruction, the red where there is no way they could get to the obstruction, which would feed a larger amount of horseshoe crabs into a single area, which could be a reason for the spike in the graph towards the end, but we won't know unless we get bathymetric data. And then in addition to that, it would be really valuable to educate future surveyors on a single methodology that would continue the study, and in addition, it would make it available to more areas and acquire more data. Thank you for coming to my presentation.